Dear Boomers, today we are discussing the uh, effects of climate change on um, the great climate migration, and we have to understand the global exodus in regards to this challenge. We have to look beyond our own borders. We have to look beyond our own backyard or our own environment because there's a whole world out there that, as provincial people, we act like we know nothing about it. So this is a global perspective. Let's talk about it. This is an article that was originally published in the New York Times Magazine and ProPublica. Climate change and migration is a growing crisis. It causes millions to leave their homes due to worsening droughts, floods, and heat waves. The article examines the stories of livelihoods, like, say, a man from Guatemala whose livelihood was destroyed by unpredictable weather patterns. He had some years of drought, followed by floods, destroyed his crops and his livelihood. He attempted to farm again, but everything after severe flooding and drought returned and lost everything. He lost it all. He left Guatemala in desperation, seeking survival for his family, highlighting the personal stakes of climate migration. Here's a fact. Rainfall in some parts of Guatemala may drop by 60% by 2070, making farming nearly impossible. How does climate change drive migration? Climate disruptions such as droughts, floods, and extreme heat are worsening globally. As land becomes uninhabitable, people are forced to leave after becoming, and often become, climate migrants. By 2070, parts of the world could experience temperature increases that render them unlivable, pushing millions to migrate. Migration patterns are shifting, with individuals moving from rural areas to cities and eventually across borders. Here's the global scope of the migration crisis. Researchers predict the greatest wave in migration in human history due to climate change. Climate migrants are expected to increase from regions such as Central America, Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa. By 2050, as many as 143 million people could be displaced within their own countries. Southeast Asia, for example, has already seen 8 million people displaced due to climate impacts on farming. Then there are impacts on the destination countries. Migration can offer opportunities, especially in countries with aging populations, but only with proper planning. Strain on infrastructure, housing, and services in cities receiving the migrants, for instance. Mexico is currently grappling with an influx of migrants and its own climate challenges. If countries like the US and European nations do not adapt, this migration could lead to destabilization. Why are people forced to move? Food and water scarcity, droughts, failing crops, and depleting water sources make survival impossible. Extreme heat in regions such as India. Heat waves may soon become deadly even for healthy individuals. The rising seas, coastal regions in places like Vietnam, China, and the Nile Delta are at risk of being submerged by 2050. So here is some new data. Models are helping researchers predict where climate migrations and migrants are likely to move. A joint model by ProPublica and the World Bank shows that 30 million migrants could move to the U.S. by 2050 in extreme climate scenarios. These models allow governments to prepare But without action, the numbers could overwhelm current migration systems. Countries are faced with a choice: open borders to help migrants, or close them and risk worsening crisis. Rising anti-immigrant sentiment, as seen in parts of Europe and the US, complicate the issue. Most of the situation, the current political climate here in the US is telling all kinds of lies about this situation with migrants. And it's disgusting. I am, for one, totally opposed to the way the Republicans are talking about the Haitians in Ohio, Springfield, Ohio. It's very disturbing. It's disgusting. Without preparation, climate migration could lead to political instability, conflict, and economic collapse in both migrant sending and receiving countries. So we have to prepare for the future. And there's a choice for the future. Global governments need to address both climate change and migration with comprehensive plans. Solutions include investing in climate mitigation, infrastructure in receiving cities, and agricultural support in vulnerable regions. The decisions made today will determine whether migration becomes an opportunity for growth or a source of global instability. So there is a path forward. Climate migration is not just a future issue, it's happening now. Global cooperation, planning, and investment are necessary to address the root causes and mitigate the humanitarian crisis. It is time for policymakers, organizations, and individuals to take this issue seriously and advocate for sustainable, humane solutions instead of demonizing people, hating them, threatening violence. This is what's going on in America right now. Just a minute. Hey! Oh my God, he's wrecking my garbage to take out later. So we need to, no hate please, but please comment below on what you think a solution might be. And we have to take it into account if we decide to move anywhere, or if we decide to talk about, as one of my friends on social media and YouTube is talking about he is an expat, and he wants to move people to Europe in an expat communities. And there are a lot of these communities, and they think that living by the sea is a good idea. It's not. It's not a good idea. So we are about to have a major storm that's going to hit Florida by Wednesday night, Milton. This is a crisis that could displace even more people that are already displaced by Helena, or by Helena. Actually, Helene, sorry. And all of these people, where are they going to go? They're already being displaced here in the United States. Now, there will certainly be places for them to go. And need I even mention the animals that are being displaced? They've probably lost their owners, and they will have to find a new home. And there will be people stepping up to take those animals. And so what we have is, we're talking about a global crisis. Never mind the crisis that is happening right here in this country with the hate that Donald Trump is talking about towards immigrants. I can't stand that. And I am just about to interview the author of this book, who is one of my high school friends. This book helps me to stop being so frustrated about this situation and so many other situations that are being stirred up by people who are disgusting. But I'm sure her name is Angela, might help us see it a different way. John will be on my show next week. I think it's Monday, the 14th, and we will discuss his journey after his daughter's passing and how that can either be totally disruptive or, and it usually is, it is disruptive at first, but after a while you get to feel what it must be like to journey to the other side of the realm, to journey to heaven, really, because according to Angela, all there is love, pure love. And if we look at everything through the eyes of pure love, we can find solutions. We cannot find solutions by throwing and regurgitating and vomiting hate all over the place. There'll be a video that shows up here, and I hope I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the 1st of January of 2025, so please subscribe.